Hi folks, my name is Kevin Dunn, and welcome to Agency Unfiltered, a bi-weekly web series and podcast that interviews agency owners around agency operations, growth, and scale. Nobody knows how to scale agencies better than those that are already doing it, and they're happy to share an unfiltered look into what has worked and what hasn't. Joining us today, Alison Leishman, Strategic Director and co-founder of Spitfire Inbound, based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Spitfire has been very intentional in documenting and defining their onboarding program, customizing learning paths by role and function, and investing in their employees' development through a process they call continuous onboarding. Learn how to build your own onboarding program, customize it by role, and how to leverage it for better client results. Agency Unfiltered starts now.
Well, Alison, thank you so much. Welcome to Agency Unfiltered. We're happy to have you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, so what we're talking about today is employee onboarding, documenting onboarding processes, and why those are so valuable for agencies to have. And so I think the easiest place to start, just at a high level, how does Spitfire organize their onboarding processes for new agency employees?
Okay, so on a high level, we look at it from three aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at it in terms of firstly skills, and that's almost what we see as a quick one,
Mm-hmm.
because skills in terms of HubSpot skills, as a HubSpot agency, that's
Right.
essential, but also other software skills. Then we look at it in skills in terms of our agencies, onboarding to our agency, and then onboarding to the clients. And those are three core components to our onboarding. But beyond the skills, it's also onboarding in terms of culture. And then at the end goal, third aspect of our onboarding process is whether both us and the employee are going to commit to continue to invest time in each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a conscious decision to go together, we're going to move forward. Because just as we have to onboard them to us, we almost have to be onboarded to them.
Sure.
Because they bring a whole lot of new flavors and insights and knowledge to the agency. And I think that's kind of the part of the onboarding that often we used to miss.
Sure. So we have these three components, and obviously right now you're very intentional with the way it's organized. Why is it so important, or why did you make why were you so intentional in having this process documented, formalized? Like, why has that been so valuable for you?
So the why would be because we've learned a lot of lessons from doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So with onboarding staff, there's a lot of mistakes we've made. And having a clear process, onboarding is not a one-person job. So having that process in my head doesn't help, because there's a lot of people involved in the onboarding process.
Sure. Yeah.
So if it's not documented, firstly, everybody doesn't know kind of what the ethos and where we're going with it. But secondly, the person who's been onboarded is left in the dark, and they're not sure what's happening in this kind of 3-month onboarding process either. So I think that's the why. And what it also really helps with is when people know where people are at, they know what to expect.
Sure.
So it just creates a smoother transition. I think the other reason to highlight would be the fact that often with onboarding, you onboard and then you leave them. So you like onboard and then it's like a stop.
Yep.
And
It is complete, right?
it's just like, okay, you're onboarded, you're good to go, you're on your own. And what we do in our onboarding process is the person being onboarded gets to put up their hand and go, I'm ready to take this bit. I'm ready to go it alone as they go through. But then there's a continuous onboarding. So we don't stop onboarding at the end of our 3-month onboarding process.
So there's onboarding, but then you also have after that 3-month period, there's continuous onboarding as well. Yeah.
And we don't always frame it as continuous onboarding, so but it is framed as it's keeping up to date, keeping abreast with how the agency's changing, how the clients are changing, how HubSpot's changing, because there's always growth.
I mean, I think just in our line of business, right? Things, tactics, strategies, everything, software, things are changing so quickly. Yeah.
And I think that you can position that as ongoing training, but it's still part of the onboarding, because we don't, you do it the Spitfire way almost.
Yeah.
Everyone does it differently. If you go to another agency, they're going to have a different process, they're going to have a different way.
Oh,
and
sure.
You've got to get used to that. So that's why we carry on as a continuum.
So I would imagine with the initial onboarding, it's pretty intensive, pretty heavy, probably a lot of requirements, things that they have to learn and pick up rather quickly. For continuous onboarding, how does that change? Like, what is the format? what does continuous onboarding look like for Spitfire?
So we do have a training requirement, so from a HubSpot certification point of view.
Yeah.
So for the academy, everybody needs to
I'm not biased. Great education. Yeah.
You're not biased at all.
No, of course not.
So HubSpot Academy is definitely one of our key components. So a certification a quarter.
Certification
so
a quarter.
Everybody has to do a certification a quarter, and not necessarily the one that's about to expire.
Sure. Yeah.
The one
Net new learnings is
And the one that you need based on your clients and your job role.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about kind of adding up the certifications so that you've got most badges. It's really about going, which of the certifications are going to help me do my job better, and as people grow, are going to help me manage my team better. And so that's the one component. And then the other onboarding is getting involved in onboarding new staff. So by being involved in onboarding a staff member and having gone through it yourself. So what we do is when a new staff member arrives, they get allocated a buddy. It's not a mentor, it's not a coach. It's somebody who's recently been onboarded, who kind of felt the
familiar with the process. It's still
fresh. They realized that they couldn't remember how to print something or what
they can
code
empathize.
was.
Yeah, right.
They completely get it, and that person becomes a go-to person. So, so that also helps our onboarding process because they give us feedback going like, that was too much in one day or whatever the case may be.
How important is, or do you source feedback from folks that are just completing onboarding, and how does employee feedback kind of feed back into the process itself? Are you actively changing, updating based on feedback? Where does that fit into the process?
So we get the feedback. We do have somebody who drives that. She meets with them, and that feedback definitely reshapes what we do the next time.
Okay.
So our kind of three-phased approach around going, let's do skills, let's do culture, let's do mutual investment, came out of feedback. Whereas traditionally you would go, okay, you need to get training, do a whole lot of training, and they were like, it's too much. We can't do all the certifications. So now we look at, okay, so have a look at lessons, then build the lessons into your certifications and do your certifications.
Oh, gotcha.
And keeping it in line with what clients they're working with, what team they're working with, and what practical implementations they're going to do, because you learn it better if you do it.
Yeah, right. Actually get your hands on it.
Yeah.
So for some of the like HubSpot, obviously you're a HubSpot agency, some of the training in HubSpot Academy is just available, right? It's on demand, it's self-paced. How do you do all of like the agency specific training? Like what format does that exist in? I would imagine that you might have like project management tools if they track time or log hours or something like that. So the HubSpot stuff is video based, but what does the format of the agency specific education look like?
So some of that is video based. So it used to be one-on-one. Now we have videoed a couple of those trainings so people can do them in their time, but we do one-on-one training. So we'll have, for example, we use G Suite. So we have an internal champion, and she's responsible for onboarding new staff to the full software package. So we kind of create a champion per. So for our project management tool, we have a champion. She introduces them the time tracking tool. So that's where I say it's everybody's involved. In the onboarding.
You spread out kind of the learnings across the team,
And it encourages the new person to meet more people within the team. We're not a huge team. There are 18 of us, but which is a fair amount.
I was going to say, that's a good team. That's a good team size.
But it allows them to meet everybody, and I think it also just allows them to get trained by different people, because everyone learns differently, everyone onboards differently, and it's a great way for them to get it with a different flavor. Otherwise, you do feel
and just get some one-on-one time with the whole team.
One-on-one time, people learn about each other. We've got a very diverse team, so it's really great because it just encourages that kind of bonding at a much earlier level.
No, it makes sense. So you've mentioned that the onboarding program itself is about 3 months. I can imagine that if you're making a hire, we want these folks on client accounts and working with clients as quickly as possible. Are they doing any client work or so where does that fit into the 3-month process? Because I can imagine you want to get them ramped up as quickly as possible.
So they're involved with clients from the word go. And that's also another learning. So as opposed to having onboarding and then meet with the clients, they're involved at different levels, and the skills matches what the client needs. Depends on what they're involved in. So if the client is, for example, we've got a lot of automation work on a particular client, then that's that drives where some of their training starts.
Oh, okay. So it matches the client needs for wherever that person is going.
But we have very clear goals by the end of the onboarding period as to which HubSpot certifications, for example, you have to have completed in order to go, okay, we agree to continue this relationship. And that's dependent on their role. So if they are in a sales position, the certifications that they're required to complete are quite different to those in a client service.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, so you contextualize or you customize based on role and where they're fitting in the organization. Go ahead.
But everyone has to have done the inbound marketing.
Yeah, so there is the baseline that everyone takes. Yeah, the agency partner education.
Yeah, that one too.
Yes, yeah.
So the other important thing is before people start, we ask them to do some of the free certifications. So we'll give them an email address and get them to do the certifications before they start, so that when they come in, it's not into this unknown world of a different language. They come in with a baseline knowledge, and I think that also helps us from almost like a standardization point of view, so that you know that everyone has got that baseline. So everyone speaks
the same inbound language. Yeah.
Everyone speaks.
And so these are assigned before they even walk through the door.
100%.
Yeah.
And particularly the funnel flywheel.
Yes.
Because people come with a funnel, and then we have to flywheel.
Yeah, you got to be up to speed with the flywheel. You have to. You talked about contextualizing kind of learning paths based on role. How many different types of onboarding customizations do you make? So like how many different variations of your process are there?
So role-based, it's essentially would be sales content and we call them IMSs, inbound marketing strategists.
It's like an account management type role? Yeah. So those would be the main three pathways, but within that there's a seniority. So if you're coming on as a junior, without a lot of prior learning, then what we tend to do is that they don't necessarily do the end-to-end training. Oh, gotcha.
So, for example, client relationship management would come further down the line. Somebody's coming in as a senior, that's core to their job. That training almost gets ramped up. So the prioritization and the order of the training changes depends on their job role.
So it's not just the responsibilities itself, but it's also like the seniority within kind of that career path at Spitfire. Okay, got it.
So there's a blend. There's a blend of that. And I think the other thing that's been interesting, and as we've learned, is people do come with prior learning. So they'll go, this part of the onboarding or this part of the training, we've done it like this before. How do we merge those two? So from a growth point of view for the agency, that's good. It's not just about this is our way and we don't move and it's stuck. Yeah. It's about let's build on that. Let's adapt it and make it better with the people we've got.
That's great.
So that's been a good experience. And as we grow, we get more and more learnings, which is really fun.
If I'm an agency or a partner and I've onboarded people, but I don't have it processed, like documented, formalized, or anything like that, where's the absolute easiest place to start? What is step one for creating more of a process versus maybe like winging it each time I bring somebody on?
I think the easiest place is with the HubSpot certifications as a HubSpot agency, because it's contained, they're set, and you can very easily align them with different roles. So I think having a timeline for that is really important. And I think our biggest challenge, and it's still our biggest challenge, is onboarding to clients and documenting that process, because every time there is a change or an introduction with a client, you've got to make sure that is handled kind of collaboratively with the client. So I think onboarding to clients is a big challenge. So how to document that is a place we're still learning because every client is different. So
how do you formalize a process if it's going to be different every single time?
So clients have different needs. What services we do with them is very different. That would be the challenge. I think onboarding them to your process, that's quite easy. You can create a checklist. What is our time tracking tool? Have you learned that? Have you got an email signature?
Spread responsibility across the team.
That I think is the simplest to onboard to your agency. If you've got processes within your agencies, you've got certain people, you create a checklist, you allocate responsibilities, and that becomes seamless. It's the almost softer side of onboarding to people
Any tips?
Sure. Any tips on onboarding to people? Listen. I think ask questions, and be who you are. Like you know, we hire people for what they're going to bring to the agency, and they need to bring that to the clients. So just be
your authentic self.
Be your authentic self,
yeah, for sure.
Because that's why you're there, and that's the value you're going to add. And as agencies, we shouldn't be trying to mold people into our agency selves. We want them to be good representatives of our brand and kind of adopt the Spitfire way as such. But they have to do that within themselves.
Yeah, that's a great point. Last question for you.
Yeah.
So I ask this question in every episode. What is the weirdest part of agency life?
So we have an award called the Spam Can.
The Spam Can?
Yeah.
Okay.
And literally, when we came to our first inbound, we bought a can of Spam. And every time somebody does something that's slightly out there or not really thinking, and it can be really silly things like people getting stuck in a turnstile or whatever the case may be, they get awarded the Spam Can.
That's great.
And it's just a cool little thing that we do. So I think the weirdest part of agency life is every agency you go to has that thing. It's like
totally.
They have some off-the-wall tradition that you're like, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
And you know, you can try to create it. So we try to create the Light Bulb Award, which is ironic.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
But the Light
Couldn't
Bulb
tee that up any better. Yeah.
The Light Bulb Award never took off, but I think it was because we were trying to drive it, whereas the Spam Can
happens organically.
just happened organically.
Right.
So I think that organic culture within agencies, like that's really cool to watch and observe and be part of.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we are officially out of time. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. But that's Agency Unfiltered. That's all we have.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Agency Unfiltered. If you like what you saw, heard, or read, make sure to subscribe to our playlist on YouTube, our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or our newsletter on agencyunfiltered.com. Alongside episode launch notifications, the newsletter also comes with a ton of other helpful, strategically curated agency content from yours truly. And if you want to keep the conversation going or provide a counterpoint to this episode's discussion, tweet me at Kevin_Dunn. I'll see you again in 2 weeks, but in the meantime, keep it unfiltered and let's all grow.